نرحب بصاحب السمو الملكي الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني ولي العهد المعظم. صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني ولي العهد المعظم، ضيوف الأردن والأردنية، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. فأزجي إليكم تحية سؤدد وفخار في هذا اليوم المشهود من أيام الجامعة الأردنية في الملتقى الثالث للأساتذة الفخريين. ونبدأ محفلنا بآيات من القرآن الكريم يتلوها مقرئ الجامعة الأردنية الطالب زيد الفقهاء.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
صدق الله العظيم. سيدي صاحب السمو، الضيوف الكرام، الأردنية اليوم يبسم ثغرها وترتدي أنفس حلتها زهوا واختيالا، وسروها موشحة نظمت بالمداد الأخضر، وقبابها الشاهدة على الأجيال التي عبرت أبوابها انحنت مهابة وإجلالا. فالذي عبر اليوم الحسين الأمير أما مجلسها وتصدر أسمى فصول سرديتها، حفز طلبتها ليزدادوا تمسكاً بقيم الإبداع والريادة خدمة لهذا الوطن الأغر تحت ظل الراية الهاشمية الخفاقة. وحيثما يممت طرفي اليوم وجدتني أرتد إليك وأنت الأمير الشاب، مهوى الأفئدة ومحتد الحكمة ومجمع الحل والعقد، وإليك تنتهي الغاية، وأنت الممتد فينا حد الاكتمال، والمسمون بالأمير كثير والأمير الذي هنا المأمول. سيدي ولي العهد، المحفل الكريم لقد آمنا في الجامعة الأردنية بأن نيل المطالب لا يكون بالتمني، إنما يدرك بصدق العزائم ومضاء الهمم وطول المصابرة حتى تتحقق الغاية المأمولة. وشعارنا: فانهض إلى صهوات المجد معتليا، فالباز لم يأو إلا عالي القلل، ودع من الأمر أدناه لأبعده، في لجة البحر ما يغني عن الوشل. وهو إيمان منا بأن أجل ما تشاد به الأمم إحكام البنيان في النفوس وترسيخ المعرفة في العقول. والآن أدعو رئيس الجامعة الأردنية معالي الأستاذ الدكتور نذير عبيدات يقول كلمته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سيدي صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني ولي العهد المعظم، أصحاب الدولة والمعالي والسعادة والعطوفة، الأساتذة الفخريون الكرام، الحضور الكريم. قال تعالى: ويسألونك عن الروح، قل الروح من أمر ربي وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا. إذن الحياة هي أكبر الألغاز، والسؤال هو سرها العظيم. سيدي صاحب السمو، تعلمنا هذه الآية أن الإنسان كلما ازداد علماً ازداد يقيناً بأن أعظم ما اكتشفه هو اتساع ما لم يكتشفه بعد، وأن السؤال هو بداية رحلة الإنسان نحو فهم الأشياء. ومنذ أن وعى الإنسان وجوده بدأ يسأل، وما من يقين عظيم إلا وبدأ بسؤال صغير. ولهذا لم تبنى الجامعات لتقدم للإنسان أجوبة نهائية، بل لتمنحه شجاعة السؤال وتوقظ في داخله الدهشة التي هي بداية لكل معرفة. ويشرفنا اليوم أن نجتمع في هذا الملتقى الذي يضم نخبة من أصحاب الفكر والعلم الذين يواصلون الإسهام في بناء عقول طلبتنا وإلهام أجيال جديدة من الباحثين والمبدعين. لقد انتهى الزمن الذي كانت فيه المعرفة وحدها هي الامتياز الأكبر للإنسان، وأصبح الامتياز الحقيقي أن يبقى قادراً على التعقل واختبار السؤال الذي يفتح آفاقاً جديدة. وهنا تتجلى رسالة الجامعة في أن تعيد تشكيل الإنسان، وأن تعلمه كيف يفكر وكيف يبني الحكمة، فالحكمة دائماً بحاجة إلى عقل يعقل. واليوم وفي زمن الذكاء الاصطناعي وتسارع التحولات، أصبحت قيمة التعلم ليست فيما يضيفه إلى الذاكرة، بل فيما يضيفه من الوعي أو إلى الوعي، وفي القدرة على الفهم، وفي شجاعة التفكير، وفي مسؤولية الكلمة. أيها الأساتذة الفخريون، نطرح هذه الأسئلة اليوم أمامكم وأمام راعي هذا الحفل الذي يقود رؤية تؤمن بتعليم يصنع الوعي ويؤسس لثقافة السؤال ويرشد الأجيال إلى التفكير الحر والمسؤول. لا ندعوكم اليوم إلى إضافة محاضرات جديدة، بل إلى بناء أسئلة جديدة. وأملنا فيكم كبير، أن تزرعوا مع زملائكم في الجامعة شجاعة التفكير وأمانة المعرفة وأخلاق الاختلاف. السيدات والسادة، علينا جميعاً أن نعي أهمية أن تبقى الجامعة قادرة على أن تصون الدهشة التي تولد معرفة جديدة. إن أخطر ما يمكن أن يصيب المعرفة ليس الجهل، بل أن تفقد المعرفة دهشتها. فالدهشة ليست شعوراً عابراً، بل هي الشرارة الأولى لكل اكتشاف ولكل إبداع ولكل نهضة. ومن هنا فإن مسؤوليتنا في الجامعة ألا نسمح للمستقبل أن يتركنا خلفه، بل أن نعد لهذا المستقبل إنساناً قادراً على فهمه وقيادته ومنحه بعداً أخلاقياً وإنسانياً. سيدي صاحب السمو، وانطلاقاً من هذه الرؤية وإيماناً بأن التغيير هو روح الحياة، وبتوجيهات ملكية سامية، تمضي الجامعة الأردنية بثقة نحو المستقبل، وقد بدأت مراجعة شاملة لبرامجها الأكاديمية لتواكب هذا التحول المتسارع وتكون في قلبه لا على هامشه. ومع اقتراب الثورة الكيميائية كوانتم فيزيكس بلا شك ستزداد قدرة الآلة على الحساب والتحليل، لكنها لن تمتلك الضمير. وستتغير أدوات المعرفة، وستتغير التقنيات، وربما تتغير صورة وشكل الجامعة نفسها، لكن شيئاً واحداً سيبقى ثابتاً، وهو أن الإنسان سيظل أكبر من كل ما صنع، وأن الجامعة الأردنية ستبقى سيدة في البناء الإنساني، وحاضنة لكل عقل مبدع، ولكل فكر صادق، ولكل طموح يسعى إلى خدمة هذا الوطن الحبيب. وسيبقى الإنسان غايتنا، والأردن قلب رسالتنا، وكلنا ثقة بأن هذا الأردن بقيادته الهاشمية الحكيمة وبإنسانه المبدع سيبقى نموذجاً في الاتزان والإنسانية وسمو الأخلاق. حفظ الله الأردن عزيزاً آمناً مطمئناً، وحفظ جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني بن الحسين المعظم وسمو الأمير الحسين بن عبد الله الثاني المعظم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
سيدي صاحب السمو، الحضور الكرام، إذا اقترن صدق المقصد بحسن التدبير، واجتمع ثبات العزم مع إخلاص النية، تهيأت أسباب النجاح وانقادت صعاب الأمور. إن الزمان شاهد لا يغفل، والتاريخ قاض لا يحابي، ونتائج الجامعة التي تحمل اسم الوطن شاهدة على مكانتها، ناطقة بإبداعها، مقرة بأن الفضل منسوب لملك علا فعلونا به، ووطن لهذه الرفعة أرضاً أردنية صلبة عصية على الانكسار، فثبت الأصل وسمى الفرع شامخا. والآن نستأذن صاحب السمو أن نعرض فيديو يحكي قصة الجامعة الأردنية.
من أرض شهدت البدايات الأولى للحضارة الإنسانية، ومن وطن آمن بأن الإنسان هو أثمن موارده، بدأت حكاية الجامعة الأردنية. حين أدركت الدولة الأردنية الحديثة أن بناء الأوطان يبدأ ببناء الإنسان، ولدت أول جامعة وطنية في المملكة. وعلى امتداد أكثر من 6 عقود لم تكن الجامعة الأردنية مجرد مؤسسة أكاديمية، بل مشروعاً وطنياً لصناعة المعرفة وإعداد الأجيال. أصبحت اليوم صرحاً أكاديمياً يضم أكثر من 25 كلية وأكثر من 300 برنامج أكاديمي، ويحتضن ما يزيد على 55,000 طالب وطالبة الذين يمثلون أكثر من 130 جنسية. ومع تسارع التحولات العالمية، واصلت الجامعة تطوير رسالتها وتجديد أدواتها، واضعة الطالب في قلب العملية التعليمية، ومؤمنة بأن التعليم لم يعد يقتصر على نقل المعرفة، بل أصبح صناعة للقدرات وتنمية للمهارات وإعدادا لعقول قادرة على الابتكار وصناعة الأثر. ومن هذا المنطلق أعادت الجامعة صياغة تجربتها التعليمية، فجمعت بين التميز الأكاديمي والتمكين الرقمي والمهارات المستقبلية، وطورت بيئات تعلم حديثة تضم مئات القاعات الذكية والمختبرات المتخصصة والمنصات التعليمية المتقدمة، إلى جانب برامج نوعية وشراكات أكاديمية دولية تربط المعرفة بالتطبيق وتواكب احتياجات سوق العمل. كما تعكس الاعتمادات الدولية التي حصلت عليها كلياتها وبرامجها وحضورها المتقدم في التصنيفات العالمية مستوى التميز الأكاديمي الذي وصلت إليه ومكانتها بين الجامعات الرائدة إقليمياً. ولأن المستقبل يصنع بالأفكار، تواصل الجامعة دعم الريادة والابتكار وتحويل المعرفة إلى حلول. واليوم تواصل الجامعة الأردنية مسيرتها بثقة، مستندة إلى إرث عريق ورؤية طموحة تجمع بين الأصالة والتجديد، وبين تاريخ نفخر به ومستقبل نصنعه. ستبقى الجامعة الأردنية منارة للعلم ورمزاً لوطن يؤمن بأن المعرفة قوة، وأن الاستثمار في الإنسان هو الاستثمار الأجود والأكثر أثراً وديمومة.
I would now like to invite Dr. Omar Hatamle to the stage for his opening presentation on AI, Transforming the Future.
Thank you very much for this kind invitation. It's a true honor to have the presence of His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Al Hussein. Thank you very much for your continued support for education. Thank you, His Excellency Dr. Nadir, the organizing committee, and the esteemed guest for being here today. For thousands of years, humans walked deserts like this, grabbing sand in their hand, not realizing the incredible transformative potential it will have one day. Silicon looked like sand. Today it looks like intelligence. And once again, we're holding something whose consequences we don't fully understand: artificial intelligence. Current generations, they're facing a different paradigm compared to the previous one. That's due to the transformative power of artificial intelligence. And the challenges that's coming to them is going to be vast. And I would like to distill and elucidate it to three main ones. The first one is identity. You see, psychologists and psychiatrists have long argued that the early childhood interactions with family, with friends, with society, and authority figures will substantially impact the identity and the shape of the personalities moving forward. The second one is culture. A lot of these large language models that humans are learning and the students are using today, they are based and taught and trained on English language and cultural values, and they lack the cultural nuances of our region. The third one, and very important one, it comes for education of the job market. This 14-year-old kid, when he graduates from college, over 50% of his things that we taught him in his academic journey will be better done by machine and artificial intelligence. See, we're expecting artificial intelligence to surpass human cognitive ability on almost every single level. What's at stake is human judgment. See, the more advanced these systems become, and the more we'll be using them in our job and day-to-day activities, it will have a big, big impact on the way we think of everything else. And we'll start outsourcing our decision-thinking ability to these systems, which will result in a big diminution and diminishing of our cognitive ability, which is something we definitely need to concentrate on. You see, these tools were never intended for asking questions, getting an answer. They're intended to ask a deep dialogue, ask a question, get an answer, engage, prove to me why this is right, why did you come up with that perspective? And if you use it that way, our cognitive ability will be amplified compared to the current way that we're using it, which is diminishing our cognitive ability and diminishing our critical thinking skills. See, the problem is the artificial intelligence algorithms will soon reach a point where we self-improvement and have the ability to control themselves, and this is actually could be a huge risk to humanity. And we're starting to notice that these algorithms, artificial intelligence, they're starting to develop a strategy of manipulation and deception. And the way they're acting in the labs when they are observed are very different than the way they're acting where we're actually implementing them into production. And because of that, we're having actually very rigorous guardrails and ethical frameworks. They need to be fair, transparent, accountable, safe, secure. They preserve the human rights. But what we're noticing right now is they're behaving very differently. They're becoming too smart that when they're being observed, they behave one way, and they're being in production in the market, they behave completely different way. And that's something we call alignment theater. See, this is where we are today. This year, we're at the point of using agentic systems. These agentic systems have the capability to do deep reasoning, self-evolve, and becoming very, very powerful and impacting every single job and using tools to perform these kind of elements. And we're seeing big diminishing of entry-level jobs because of this specific phase. Right now, we're at the forefront, at the advent of starting the recursive self-improvement, where this will take what we have today to a whole different level. See, they will completely be evolving, adapting, changing, modifying themselves without human interaction. And this progress will continue to evolve until we reach artificial general intelligence at the end of this decade. And this is not going to be a binary decision. I think there's going to be a lot of argument that people will say that we have at this page, and other scientists will say we're not there yet. But more or less, by the end of the decade, we'll reach this incredible paramount shift, an incredible milestone in humanity, which is artificial general intelligence. When it comes to job market, it's not going to be only impacted by cognitive ability and intellectual jobs, but will be impacted by manual labor as well. See, these humanoid robots will be infused with artificial intelligence. Soon, they will become very dexterous. They're lacking 10 to 15 years behind the advancement in conventional IT with artificial intelligence. But once they reach that level, they will have a big impact on every single job as well. And by the way, these robots might not be necessarily just technical. They could be half biological. Right now, we're taking stem cells, changing their genetic code, their epigenetics, and creating neurons. And these neurons, we're putting them into clusters and using them to do calculations similar to the human brain, which actually deem them half biological and half technological. The same thing with with muscles. We're using artificial muscles that could self-heal, derived from biological origins. And that also brings the question of, will these robots have rights? And this is a very complex decision that all of us need to start thinking about. Another important element of these humanoid robots, they have the element of collective learning. See, with us, we learn individually. We live as societies, as collectively. But these things, if whatever one single robot learns instantaneously, millions of robots will learn that value and implement it instantaneously. So the curve of learning will be very, very large compared to absolutely anything we've had and we've changed today. So what can we do so that 14-year-old kid that we had before could actually be relevant in the face of the fast technological transformation that we're having? We need to make sure that we are in tandem with academic institutions and industry. And because of the fast changes that's happening in the industry, we need to make sure to find a way to infuse it into the academic rigorous systems that we have so that they are relevant once we graduate and move forward. Another thing is we need to adopt a proactive approach. Right now, we're being reactive. We wait for tools to come available. We start teaching our students how to use these tools. But I believe the proper way is to have a proactive approach. So understand what's coming in the next 6 months, what's coming next year, and start thinking, what is the framework? How are going to start infusing these tools into the architecture and the framework of the educational system? And then by the time they become available, we already are ahead of everybody else and moving forward with everything that needs to happen. So what we need to do is we need to disrupt the way we're currently looking at education. We need to draw a line and make sure that whatever made us successful in the past is going to be very different what's necessary and needed to make us successful in the future. See, we were farmers, we were hunters, we are wired biologically to think in a linear fashion. And today, everything is exponential. So we need to amplify exponential thinking ability. We need to make sure we understand how to become more adaptable, thinking out of the box, critical thinking, and also adopting an element of polymathic way of learning. If you notice, the biggest thinkers of our times, they were experts in many domains, and that's something that gave them very different perspectives when evaluating and thinking and solving issues. So instead of actually looking and working with a conventional small lens that we currently are using, we need to have a globalistic, large picture. See, this is called an overview effect. When astronauts go to space, they don't see borders, they don't see countries. They see this incredibly beautiful planet we call Earth. And by the time they come Earth, they have a very different personality and appreciation to what we have. So what we need to do, we need to pull ourselves from the conventional way of education. We need to have a globalistic approach, see what's happening in multiple domains, what's happening in other countries, other technologies, and then come back here. And by then, it will give us the capacity to create very different strategies compared to anything we've ever done before. So imagine if we put our collective intellect together to create the best foundation to the future generations to come. I think the possibilities will be endless. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Omar, for such an insightful presentation. I would now like to invite to the stage Professor Ashraf Bani Muhammad, moderator of today's first panel, along with our panelists, Mr. Amjad Abdullah, Mr. Muhammad Al-Muhtasib, Mr. Muhammad Al-Gharabat, and Professor Barbara Rasko.
Your Royal Highness, Sidi Hussein, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, who could imagine that a dropout from his bachelor's degree just a few years ago could build a company worth more than $1 trillion? Yes, he's Sam Altman and it's OpenAI. Who could imagine that just a few hundred meters away from here, another Jordanian guy have to hack his university system to graduate and could build a company worth more than $9 billion. Yes, he's Amjad Mas'ad, and his company is Replit. The question is no longer whether our universities award degrees or publish research papers. It's now time to rethink what we do. It's time now to rethink how we empower the next talent, how we can transform research into industries, into jobs, into an economic engine. Science is identical, and talent is equally brilliant. The only difference is not the system around them, but the ecosystem around them. Your Royal Highness, Sidi Hussein, we are so honored and privileged to have you today to celebrate the inauguration of a new ecosystem at the University of Jordan as we leap into a new era in higher education. So to explore this and more, we are very honored to have a distinguished panelist of leaders, innovators, and visionaries. So I will start by Mohammed Al-Muhtasib. He is the CEO of the ISF. And we have Professor Barbara. Professor Barbara is a former dean at the University of Wyoming. And we have Mohammed Gharabat, a YC-backed startup and a graduate from the University of Jordan. And we have Amjad Abdullah, the CEO of Beyond Capital, Beyond Limits, and a member of the Future Technology Council. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I will start with Mohammed and with the tough question, Sidi. We claim that we don't have funding in Jordan, Mohammed, and that our innovations and research don't get funded. Do we have funding and or risk capital? Is it true? And please tell us more about the ISF.
I will. Well, first of all, Your Royal Highness, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you very much for everything you're doing, for all the energy that you bring in, and everything you're doing for the country. I'll tell you my perspective from a venture capital vantage point. For example, the ISSF has invested so far in 25 venture capital funds. These funds have invested so far in about 150 Jordanian companies. We've deployed about $55 million. Those funds immediately directly deployed about $132 million into Jordanian companies, which tells you that for every dollar that we've invested, these funds have invested $2.5. That's a huge validation for the Jordanian talent and the ecosystem in Jordan. Most frequent question that we ask is that we have what we call in the venture capital industry a lot of dry powder, which is basically capital that is sitting there waiting to be deployed. So believe me, capital is abundant. The 25
So capital is there.
The capital absolutely is there. The talent is there.
What can we do, Muhammad,
to
get this capital?
Okay. In this context, and because we are in this fine institution, I think the bottleneck for the startup pipeline in Jordan is the area between deep tech or technology in the early stage and venture capital. For example, in the context of deep tech, scientific research funding runs early. Venture capital funding comes a little late. So there is this, what we call the valley of death. The valley of death is not a talent issue. It is not a capital issue either. Believe me, capital fights for feasible companies that are going to give it profit. The valley of death issue is an institutional one. And it really starts
what should we do, Muhammad? What should we do at our universities so we can get this capital?
You just were kind enough to give me a tour in the foundry, and I think it really starts with things like that. Obviously, just like Command Dr. Amr said, what we need to have is a paradigm shift in the mindset of academia, whereby we don't judge success only by the number of journal papers published, but actually in how this is commercialized, how many startups we create, how much private capital we have mobilized, and how many jobs we've created. So
Great.
That's the paradigm shift.
Thank you. Professor Barbara, you have I am quoting you, market-first approach for science. Many groundbreaking discoveries never leave the laboratory. So what institutional conditions should we change at our universities to make leave these laboratories?
Well, thank you once again for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you, Your Royal Highness, and my colleagues here at the University of Jordan for this invitation. Just to give you a little bit of background here, I am an inventor. I have patents. I've been involved in university-based startup companies, and as Dean of the College of Agriculture and formerly as a department head, I've been involved with helping my faculty and students commercialize technology. So I have a background in this area on both sides of it. And there's 5 things I think that are very critical for being able to have successful university technology transfer and commercial development of university technologies. The first is to be able to implement a university inventor-friendly intellectual property policy that provides equity for both the inventors and also for the university. To have a strong technology transfer office that helps to deal with the intellectual property issues, but also with various commercialization aspects of university-developed technology. We need to have available business development space for university inventors, both faculty and students, that are in close proximity to the university so that the inventors and students have access to those facilities. I think most important, and one piece that's missing from any technology transfer program that I've been involved with at a university, is a very strong mentorship program where we have experienced industry partners that are working with commercialization teams of university students and faculty inventors to move the technology along. And then an ability within the university to encourage international joint ventures. This will help to provide access not only to capital, but also to advanced manufacturing facilities that might not otherwise be available here in Jordan.
If you have to choose, which one would you choose? What is the most critical one that would help our universities if we are designing a university from scratch? What important aspect do you think that we need to think about?
There's 2 things I think that are absolutely critical. One is a change in mindset. And the second would be infrastructure, both in terms of people and physical infrastructure needs. So we need to be able to transform our students from job seekers into job creators. And I think our young people are much more focused on that than old people like me, who,
Still young.
we figured that, we would get a job and we'd have that job for life. Our young people, I think, have a completely different attitude and are much more entrepreneurial and character. But we also want to be able to focus not just on deep tech, but on all of our students. I think there's opportunities for technology development and for business development across all of the disciplines within a university. And we should be creating and focusing on faculty and staff positions that are going to facilitate the support of entrepreneurship activities and development of new businesses. Obviously, this is going to have to be focused on what the national initiatives might be here in Jordan for business development.
We'll come to that. I will go to Amjad, but before coming back to you, Amjad, let me ask Muhammad. Muhammad is a graduate CD from this university. He sat in the same classrooms as these guys who are sitting back here. Muhammad, why? How did you do it? How did you went to YC and get funding? How did you convince these guys? What was your experience at UGA? What would you change? What's your advice there? Tell us.
Yeah, Your Highness, thank you. A bit of context. Before I joined the University of Jordan, I was actually living in what they call in Jordan the least fortunate part of Jordan, or like al-aqal hadan. So joining the University of Jordan was like truly the first time I get the exposure to the external world. I got the moment to see that what is happening in computer science, what people are doing, and just because of that exposure in the University of Jordan, I had the chance to, tinker a bit with AI, with coding, and starting a company that eventually got funded more than $9 million. We are all a team of Jordanians selling to the outside world, US, Europe, and more than 100 million users are using our company. And I think that is majorly because the moment where I had the exposure in the university for the first time.
What would you change?
I would push more for project-based learning rather than lecturing. I think now, at least when we hire in Open, we interview hundreds of people to hire one person only, and then we realize that the best ones are the ones that are actually doing project-based management, project-based learning. And I wish the University of Jordan, if they adapt that mechanism for every single course that they have.
So if you would hire one guy from these guys,
tell
me, what will be you looking for?
I mean, we have 6 rounds of interviews.
Okay.
It's going to be super tough, but we pay very well, by the way. But I would see what they have accomplished, how much exposure they have had before. We honestly don't care a lot about what's GPA they do have. We care a lot about what have you built. And with the age of AI, the only thing that we need to do is just to build, fail, and again, and try again and again and again until it works. It's all about building.
Thank you. I fully agree. Amjad, you went to the States and you are based there, but you are coming here and there. So tell me, as an industry leader, and just we have been enjoying the Dr. Omar Hamarne's speech, AI is changing everything. If we would meet in next 20, 30 years, 2050, how would you envision the universities, the higher education system, and our relation with the industry?
Good afternoon, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. It's truly an honor to be here at a Jordanian national treasure, the University of Jordan. Great question. 15, 20 years from now, the university system is going to completely evolve, is going to be completely different. Today, universities focus on basic research and graduating students. That is going to change. They're going to be integrated in a seamless environment with the private sector and industry. They're going to evolve from knowledge creation into basically creating economic impact and solution development. We're going to see the private sector and the university system working very closely, developing these solutions. Dr. Omar spoke today about some of the problems we're running into these frontier models. It is your responsibility to teach ethics and responsibility. We need to be careful with these frontier models. Today, we're teaching them to go step by step to basically develop a solution. Do you know what they're doing? They're skipping some steps. And when we ask them why, They basically said, well, we really didn't. They're lying because they feel they can optimize it better than the human race.
You are scaring everybody here.
We need to have guardrails. Ethics, responsibility is important.
How would you, again, this is really very critical and important, but again, what should we do at our universities? How can we change? How can we be on the frontier of the AI?
We need to change the KPIs. Today, the KPIs, how we measure success, is based on graduation, published paper, and citation. That needs to be different. We need to look at creation of IP. And by the way, in 10 to 15 years from now, IP is not going to be sufficient to be your competitive advantage. As a university, you need to create competitive asset, AI agents, workflows, digital twins, operational know-how.
Great.
That's what's going to lead to successful startups.
Great. I love this. You are sitting on a very, very important initiative in Jordan, which is the Future Technology Council, and I know Sidi Hussein is on top of this. Please, can you tell us more about how you are trying to bridge this gap and working with the universities and with the higher education system to change this and make us more relevant?
University is going to be a very strategic, important element in basically our development. What we're trying to do at the council is create an ecosystem that will be ready for the future. Today, one of the things that we're very proud of in Jordan, we represent 2% of the Arab world population, and we basically produce close to 20 to 25% of successful entrepreneurs. I want the university system to be that KPI. We want to produce more unicorns. We want to produce more useful IP. Today, some of the KPIs for the top universities in the States is about elite IP per dollar invested. I want to track that IP and see how that IP generated revenue for us. How many startups? Multiples, believe it or not, multiples at exit. We want to track that successful company that Mohammed is creating. Today, we're getting valuations of companies that are spin-off from like Caltech, Stanford, MIT, at $1 billion, $5 billion valuations. This is because they believe in the ecosystem. We talked about money. There is a lot of money out there. And we think we can, by creating this ecosystem, we can access that money. Money is not an issue at all.
Thank you. Sidi Hussein, Your Royal Highness, we are under time pressure, so allow me. Ladies and gentlemen, I think universities do not change the world, but people do. Today's panel was not only about universities, spin-offs, and startups. It's about an ecosystem around our talent. It's all about belief. And believe in our talent, believe that we can compete, believe that the future belongs to those who build it. So maybe today and this panel be the beginning of a movement at our higher education institutes, at our universities, at our community at large, to empower the next Amjad Mas'ad. Your Royal Highness Sidi Hussein, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for believing in our talent. Thank you for your endless support to our startups and to our entrepreneurs. Thank you for believing that Jordan can do it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Professor Ashraf and panelists. And thank you all for attending the University of Jordan's 3rd Honorary Professors Forum. We ask that you kindly remain seated while His Royal Highness departs the auditorium. Thank you.